Welcome back to another exciting episode of the Farmall Preparation H Restoration Series. I say exciting episode out of wishful thinking because I don't know what it is about the electrical side of this project, but ever since I got into starter, generator, and now distributor, views have steadily declined to the point where we're maybe hitting about 50% of what this has been doing the whole rest of the time. It may be because the casual viewer is not as into the sparky things as they are levers, cogs, sheet metal, things that they can actually see, move, and work. And I don't know. Electricity is regarded by many to be a rather black magic mystery. It's just what I've found. It's not meant to be insulting. Just from talking to people, it's kind of unrelatable to a lot. So, nevertheless, we carry on. I want to thank everyone in the comment section under the last episode regarding the question I had about these oil compartments that have an oil fill. They have an oil reservoir inside of them, but no apparent means of getting that oil into the bushing. Several people responded with the correct answer, and fact of the matter is these are centered bronze bushings. So by nature, they are porous. In other words, the oil will remain in these compartments until it gradually seeps through. And I don't know if you can see how shiny the inside of that bushing is. That was absolutely dry before I filled this, and I just about had it dripping out of here the other day. It's actually working through that fast. So, and that was not even on my radar. It makes perfect sense now. So these were never meant to be greased like the IH built ones. They were meant to have these oil reservoirs. So I have since filled all 4 of these housings up completely full, and it's a like a 20 weight, lighter weight oil is what they recommend. I went with a synthetic oil that we use for lubricating the lathes because it has very good lasting power and is able to creep very well. So, good job everybody. That mystery has been solved. And the only other thing from the comment section under the last episode that I wanted to touch on today is how many people weren't aware that Pertronix made these kits for things other than just 12-volt systems. So you look at this one, it says Igniter and then Delco, because the Delco verticals are a different kit than the IH horizontals. So that's one difference you need to be aware of. After that, it specs 4-cylinder 6-volt positive ground. They also make these Delco kits in 4-cylinder 6-volt negative ground. Same for the IH horizontals. You can get those in 6-volt positive ground or negative ground. All different kits. You can get 12-volt. You can get 6 cylinders and up. Lots of things that you have to be sure of before you buy one of these kits because they make them for everything now. You also need to get the special coil to match and the plug wires to suit it as well. So, beginning here today, I'm doing new tags for both of these distributor units. And from a couple episodes back, a few people said that they wished they could have seen me actually stamp the tags, so we'll do that today. I've already got the tag ready for the points distributor. This is the one that had been hammered on so bad, so we transcribed, or I should say carried all of the numbers over. Model 1111411, serial 1K24. Got that one looking nice. We've already fit it to the housing. I threw some Gliptol on both of these housings too, to go under the tags because these tags are going to have to go on first. I can't wait until after we paint these. So here's the tag off of our new electronic converted distributor. We're going to remake that just because I've got tags and this one's getting kind of tough. So here's the new tag. We've got our guide plates and our metal stamps. Let's go to the vise. All right, so here's our process. Old tag handy so that we don't get the numbers wrong. Backup plate goes on the jaws. We've got our new still flat tag goes on there. And something I learned after the first time is to tape that tag down to the block, and that's going to help you in 2 different ways. A, it's going to protect the finish on the tag from the guide block, scratching it and marring it, and B, keeps the tag from moving around too. Guide block on top now. Center the blank portion of the tag with the window. And do the vice grip double clamp. Holds it all in place. So now we need 1 1 1 1 4 1 1. Okay, Lots of ones there. So make sure we got the one positioned properly. Pick one of the scribe lines that best lines up with the start of the window. Center it up once we're happy with it. No turning back now. So we've got 1, 1, 1, 1, 4, 1, 1. And now we start at the opposite end and we'll work backwards. So we need to finish up with an 8L15, but we are going to stamp it 51L8. That way we get both of our numbers towards the extreme ends of the window and we end up with the best gap in between. So here's our 5. 1 L. And finally the 8. Try to make that show up for you guys. There we go. And now very carefully pre-bend it so that it matches the curvature of the housing. Yeah, that looks really good. So all the correct digits. Yeah, looks quite a bit better than the old ones. So now I want to talk about the stamp set that I purchased, because this is that Hansen brand, as I said in an episode prior. One of my channel members sent me a sample of a 1/8 punch set from the Harbor Freight store. I looked it up on their website. I found it. It's Pittsburgh brand, and it's literally $9.99. I've got just a little over 100 in these, okay? One thing I do like about them, they're about 20 thousandths skinnier than these Hansen stamps, so it's easier to fit more of the digits onto the tag. These Hansen ones don't do too bad either, but if you're looking at getting into some of these 1/8 stamps for these tags, honestly, give that Harbor Freight one a try. I looked it up. The SKU number is 63676. So thanks for that. And here is why I wanted to do the tags first. Before we put anything in these housings, I can support the inside with this large socket so that I can hammer those rivets in a lot easier. Although it is a rather minor detail, new tags really set these components off. I like it. So, let's move on. So to begin the actual assembly process, we will start with the drive housings. And very simple the way they go together, just reverse of the disassembly. We've got the drive shaft. This is the same light oil that I filled these compartments with. So it is going to be used on all the critical surfaces. So we'll get a decent coating on there. And we've got the first thrust washer goes on, and then we can slide that shaft in through the back. All right, we've got the second washer. Again, just a little bit of oil on that as well. That goes on at the front. Then we seat the Woodruff key. That is what locates the drive. Throw this drive hub on, align it with the key. There we go. Once you get that key lined up, they're usually a fairly loose fit. So lock washer goes on next, and then the nut. And as I've stated before, I like to just put some Loctite on the nut and then put that on, tighten it in, instead of staking it over and over again, because the more times you take it apart, the more chewed up the end of that shaft will get. Now this is where you want to check the assembly before you move on. I've got 5 thousandths end play on that shaft, all right? And that's about what I like to see. I certainly don't want to have any more than that. And You also don't want to have any side-to-side wobble clearance shaft to the bushing at all, because the tighter all these components are, the closer your timing is going to stay. If you had excessive end play on this shaft, this drive gear back here starts moving back and forth. That's going to translate into a little bit of extra rotation on your vertical shaft. So it all adds up. This drive I've already pre-assembled, and I found that I had about 10 thousandths end play on this shaft, okay? And you can remedy that one of two ways. You can put thicker washers in, which is difficult because these are very thin to start with, or you can do like I did, put this shaft in the lathe and very carefully take the shoulder of it down just a few thousandths so that the hub goes on a little further, and that further reduces your end play. And you can see I took this one all the way down to 3 thousandths end play. So that is as tight as I dare go with them, for fear that the shaft may start binding once they get warm. But it's a lot better than the 10 that it originally had. And now we can put the rear cover on. Gasket has to go in place first. And I'm not going to throw the coil bracket on the back yet today because I want to get paint on all these pieces first, but I included the 2 flat washers beneath those top 2 bolts. Those are needed to bridge those slots in the brackets. So that's as far as we need to go with the drives for now. So distributor reassembly can begin now. Let's start with the housing. We've got the shaft. We'll use the same light grade of oil just to get a coating on all the pieces here. All right, and we've got the first main thrust washer goes on the shaft, and then the shaft can go into the distributor housing. Okay. Next up are these 2 washers. We'll get a layer of oil on those. So the main one, or the large one I should say, goes on first, and then this secondary one, much smaller, and it acts sort of as an in-play shim for the gear. All right, gear slides on next. Just align the holes like that. And now the pin. So what I had to do was make a new one slightly oversized. Okay, so these are very close to 1/8 inch diameter. 0.125 would be the decimal form of that. Measuring what was left of the old pins that I drove out, they were a bit oversized. They were about 0.128. So that's what I did. I just I turned a couple of these 0.128. You definitely want to fill the entire area of the through hole here, because if the gear starts clicking around just slightly loose on the bottom of the shaft, that is not a good thing. There we are. We'll have to drive that the rest of the way. And with a very good backstop, peen both ends of the new pin over. Good tight fit. Hardly any in play. Smooth spin. Very good. Okay, everybody, looking down at the top of the distributor right now, you want to lubricate all the critical points. So we've got the rotor shaft, we've got the pins for the flyweights, and we've got these resting pads for the flyweights as well. Make sure to get oil on all of that stuff. So to throw the flyweights in, don't pay any attention to that hole. This one up at the top is the one you want. Start them on the pegs, both sides. And now the cam, I also put some oil on the surfaces of it where the flyweights are going to contact. Then the retaining plate on top of the flyweights, followed by the tiny fold-over locks. Tighten the nuts, both sides, and fold the locks. Finish up with the flyweight springs and check for free movement. Very good. Before we close up the lower portion of the distributor with the plate, I just want to mention I prefer a light oil on all these things because grease will just get flung off through centrifugal force. Oil seems to stick around a lot better. So the plate can go on. And of the 3 screws that hold it on, just the plain machine screw goes in right here, and then the other 2, of course, are the ones that also hold the clips for the cap. You do have to make sure you put those on correctly, though, because you can see this one is just a smooth housing side above it, but this one has this indent, and the indent is for the taller of those 2 legs. You see it's got a corresponding notch right there is going to fit the indent, so we'll go ahead and throw that one in first. What that does is act as an alignment peg for the cap and the dust plate if so equipped. So that means just the regular one goes in on the other side. And last, but certainly not least, I've got this round piece of wicking felt that I cut. It's been soaking in oil for the past day. And you always want to make sure you've got a small piece of felt on top of the vertical shaft here inside the upper portion of the cam. And that is actually a maintenance item in the operator's manual. Periodically, they want you to remove the cap and the rotor, put a few drops of oil onto that felt, and that lubricates where the cam rotates on the upper shaft. That's where it gets its oil supply from. So those pieces are usually always missing, or if they are there, they're usually pretty dirty and they're in need of replacement anyway. So I think we're going to wrap it up right here. We have covered quite a bit of ground today, both the drives assembled, and we've got the base portions of each distributor body ready. So next time is going to be the real meat and potatoes part. We will be throwing the points and condenser in this housing, and then we will do the electronic pickup upgrade to this one. So we have all the new parts loaded and ready on the bench, but in the meantime, I thank you everyone for watching. I hope you found this entertaining, and I hope to see you all back again.